This is live from New Delhi. You're watching DT India Live, India's Watch to the World. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Singapore on the second leg of his visit to Southeast Asian countries after concluding successful visit to Brunei. A major government shake-up in Ukraine. Foreign Minister Kuleba tenders his resignation. 5 other ministers, including the Deputy Prime Minister and in charge of weapons production, resign. The US files terrorism charges against 6 Hamas leaders, including its chief Yahya Sinwar, accuses them of orchestrating the 7 October attacks in Israel. And in sports, India bags its highest ever tally of 20 medals at the Paris Paralympics. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Singapore. He's going to be visiting Singapore on 4th of September. And the ASEAN nation has been a traditional ally of India and the highest source of foreign direct investment. The visit by the Prime Minister is likely to strengthen the economic and cultural ties between the two countries. DD India's Akshay Dongre reports.
After his first ever bilateral visit to Brunei, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Singapore after a gap of 6 years. This is Prime Minister Modi's 5th visit to Singapore after he assumed office and has enthused the Indian diaspora across the East Asian country.
Our foreign policies are improved. That's what I can see, I can feel. People are, other people talking about our country. So I think a lot of positive things are happening. And I'm excited as PM is coming here. And surely all Indians will celebrate and will welcome him.
The visit to Singapore is significant as this is PM Modi's first visit after assuming a third historic term, along with Lawrence Wong assuming the charge of Prime Minister of Singapore this year in the month of May. The bilateral visit is likely to deepen relations between the two nations.
It's a very important and a historic visit. It's Prime Minister's 5th visit, as you rightly mentioned. Now, a visit very early on in his third term is really, really historic because Prime Minister Lawrence Wong also has taken office in May, and a meeting between two Prime Ministers very early on in their respective tenures will set the course for our bilateral relationship in the next decade or so.
India and Singapore have been traditional allies with shared heritage, history and cultural ties, along with deep economic relations. The impetus given by the Modi government has significantly improved the bond between the two nations. Besides cultural ties, the visit by Prime Minister Modi will focus on futuristic cooperation in areas including digitalization, sustainability, skills, health, connectivity and advanced manufacturing. These include semiconductors and aviation technology. Taken all together, these are likely to give a boost to economic cooperation between the two nations.
Certainly, Singapore having a small percentage of Indian and Indian origin people, they make culturally much more share of the noise of Singapore because there's so much of activity that happens which draws a lot of people. And we talk about culture, it's not only classical arts, it is non-classical arts, even the Bollywood, even yoga, even Indian Ayurveda, and all forms of Indian culture. Food is a very big part of it.
Indian community is one of the largest and perhaps most important communities of Singapore that has left a permanent mark on the culture of the country. As you can see everywhere, there will always be something that reminds you of India, of Indian heritage that you will find in the country. And while there has always been close cultural and historic ties between the two countries, now amid the changing geopolitical scenario, there is an increasing closer strategic relation between the two countries as well. And to nurture and to strengthen this relationship, Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India is visiting Singapore, where the two countries will aim at significantly enhancing the close ties that the two countries share at this moment. With camera person SP Dubey in Singapore, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us live from Singapore. Akshay, now to begin with, yes, I think you have with you the Indian diaspora there, and we can also understand there is a palpable amount of excitement and overwhelming sentiment ahead of Prime Minister when he meets them. He's already arrived in Singapore. To begin with, the overall significance and the deliverables that are on the table, because MEA says this visit is poised to take off to an entirely new level of cooperation, quote unquote, between India and Singapore.
Well, absolutely, Sakal. In fact, the fact that this visit is taking place so soon after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's third historic tenure started is also significant because the new government in Singapore has also was formed in the month of May with Lawrence Wong becoming the Prime Minister of Singapore. Both the leaders have had previous relationships.
Okay, we'll try and reconnect with Akshay to get some live reportage from Singapore and understand the significance of this visit of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Singapore, which comes after 6 years, as this being also his 5th visit to Singapore. And moving on to some more news and updates. In a historic visit to Brunei, Darussalam, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a meeting with Sultan Haji Hassan Al Bolkiah on Wednesday and also discussed ways to further cement bilateral ties during the wide-ranging talks. The Sultan Haji Hassan Al Bolkiah and his close family members warmly welcomed Prime Minister Modi at the Istana Nurul Imam. The Istana Nurul Imam is the official residence of the Sultan of Brunei. Leaders held delegation-level talks where two leaders welcomed the elevation of bilateral ties to enhance partnership. Prime Minister invited Brunei's Sultan to pay a visit to India. The historic visit of the Prime Minister will further boost action on India's Act East policy and its vision for the Indo-Pacific.
भारत की एक्ट ईस्ट पॉलिसी और इंडो पैसिफिक विजन में ब्रुनेई का महत्वपूर्ण साझेदार होना ये हमारे लिए उज्जवल भविष्य की गारंटी है। हम एक दूसरे की भावनाओं का सम्मान करते हैं। मुझे विश्वास है कि मेरी इस यात्रा से और हमारी चर्चाओं से आने वाले समय के लिए हमारे संबंधों को स्ट्रेटेजिक दिशा मिलेगी।
India and Brunei also signed and exchanged memorandum of understandings on cooperation in the operation of telemetry, tracking and telecommand station for satellite and launch vehicles. A joint statement was also adopted after the talks.
So they discussed emerging areas of bilateral cooperation such as fintech, the digital technology, digital payment systems, as well as renewable energy. Space has traditionally been an important area of bilateral cooperation. India's telemetry tracking and command station is located in Brunei, and both sides signed an MOU to take this relationship further forward.
And let's go live back to our correspondent Akshay Dongre live from Singapore. Akshay, we lost that link with you. Now over to you. Please continue.
Well, Shakal, yes, there are so many people who have gathered here to welcome the Prime Minister that the network has started to fluctuate, but it's all part of the excitement that is here. As you can see behind me, the number of people, the Indian diaspora that has gathered here. Now there is music that has just started as far as the celebration is concerned. So it seems that almost all the Indian diaspora has come. It seems like the mini India right here in the hotel where the Prime Minister is going to be welcomed. Speak to some of those people who are here. But before that, let's talk about the significance of this. That there are going to be a lot of things on the agenda, with semiconductor, digitization, connectivity, especially after India and Singapore has launched their India and Singapore ministerial roundtable. That is one of the points of a government that has in fact significantly taken up the relations between the two countries. So I'm sure behind you can see the Indian diaspora, the music has started to take place in fact ahead of us. There is celebration already
certainly, there is a lot of excitement among the people who have gathered here. Take some questions from these people and try to understand. But what exactly would happen? Sir, this is the first time that we see Prime Minister in person. People are excited. They are saying that never significant development of science. So that they are quite excited. Walk around the kind of that are there are a lot of they are gathered all around welcome the Prime Minister celebrating station. People are excited
ahead of Prime Minister's arrival at the hotel in Singapore. Akshay, thank you very much. There were a lot of audio-video glitches out there, and we will try and come back to you later also on our broadcast. But thank you very much for joining us from Singapore. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. On the other side, this is what we have for you. President Vladimir Putin to attend the 9th Eastern Economic Forum at Vladivostok in Russia's Far East. Donald Trump to plead not guilty to revised indictment. And in Nigeria, at least 81 killed in a suspected Boko Haram attack.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that.
To some other stories that we are tracking at this hour. Prime Minister Modi's arrival visuals at Hotel Shangri-La in Singapore. Meeting the top leadership of Singapore there. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be in Singapore on 4th to 6th of September. The visit poised to further strengthen bilateral ties between the two nations. In fact, Prime Minister's visit comes a fortnight after the high-level roundtable between top ministers of both countries. These are the latest visuals from Singapore upon arrival of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In fact, the Indian diaspora also have turned out in large numbers to welcome Prime Minister Modi in Singapore. Singapore is India's 6th largest trade partner worldwide, and the business component is going to be one of the important features as far as the overall deliverables are concerned. The two countries share a robust relationship, this being the 5th visit of Prime Minister Modi to Singapore and first after the historic third-term mandate in India. The visit is of a greater significance as this is also his visit early in his term. Also significant to note that the new Prime Minister of Singapore, Lawrence Wong, has also taken oath recently. The two sides are also looking forward to identify new areas of partnership under the India-Singapore Ministerial Roundtable framework. There's already a robust mechanism between the two sides in place, the ministerial level mechanism to take the relationship, to further cement the relationship bilaterally. The visit also takes place in the light of India-Singapore's 6th anniversary of diplomatic relationship, which India and Singapore are celebrating in 2025, that is next year. And that is something which also marks the 10th year of their strategic partnership with Singapore. In fact, ahead of Indian Prime Minister's visit to Singapore, the second India-Singapore Ministerial Roundtable was held, which saw the biggest gathering of the Indian-Singaporean ministers. This took place on 26th of August 2024. India and Singapore are looking forward to significantly enhance their cooperation, particularly in the semiconductor sector, as per some reports. And trade and investment is going to be one of the important components as far as this visit, the fifth visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Singapore is concerned. This is Prime Minister's first visit after assuming the historic third-term mandate, and this being coming after 6 years, and also from Singapore point of view, the change of regime there, the new Prime Minister Lawrence Wong has also recently taken over. Opportunity for both sides to set the stage for India-Singapore vibrant bilateral relationship, and remember the diaspora component also assumes greater significance because Singapore happens to be one of those nations which not only shares very close and close cultural linkages with India, but India's civilizational footprints are also there. The relationship between India and Singapore have evolved over many decades. They share a very dynamic strategic partnership encompassing diverse areas from shared history to people and people contacts. So these are the visuals of Prime Minister's arrival in Singapore a while back. He's already landed, and we will of course keep you updated with more news and updates as far as Prime Minister's Singapore visit is concerned. And now let's move on and talk a bit about the big outcomes of the Brunei visit, which just concluded after bilateral talks, where talks on wide range of issues were held. Sultan of Brunei hosted an official lunch in honor of the Prime Minister, served with the tune of Vaishnav Janto Kahiye and Bhumro Bhumro. Motichur laddus and saffron pedas were also on the royal menu in honor of Prime Minister Modi at the Royal Palace in Istana Nurul Imam at the official luncheon. In fact, Prime Minister Modi thanked the entire royal family for the warm welcome and hospitality and lauded deep historical and cultural ties between the both nations.
राजनीतिक संबंधों की 40वीं सालगिरह मना रहे हैं। इस अवसर पर हमने निर्णय लिया है कि अपने संबंधों को एनहांस पार्टनरशिप का दर्जा देंगे। हमारी साझेदारी को स्ट्रैटेजिक दिशा देने के लिए हमने सभी पहलुओं पर व्यापक चर्चा की। हम आर्थिक, वैज्ञानिक और रणनीतिक क्षेत्रों में अपने सहयोग को मजबूत करने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है।
In a joint statement released by India and Brunei Darussalam, both nations have affirmed their commitment to further strengthen, deepen and enhance partnership in all areas of mutual interest. Both leaders held discussions for enhancing cooperation on a wide range of issues, including defense, connectivity, trade and investment, energy, renewable energy, space, ICT, health and pharmaceuticals as well. Also, education and capacity building, culture, tourism, youth and people-to-people exchanges, as well as regional and international issues of mutual interest. The leaders acknowledged the importance of close interaction through existing bilateral mechanisms. They agreed to further expand bilateral trade and economic ties. They called for leveraging respective strengths in technology, finance and manufacturing. Both leaders recognized the importance of food security and agreed to enhance cooperation in agriculture and food supply chain. India and Brunei acknowledged the importance of enhancing defense and maritime cooperation through regular exchanges of visits between both countries. They have welcomed a planned direct flight connectivity between Bandar Seri Begawan and Chennai, which will foster stronger people-to-people linkages. Both leaders recognize the important role of youth towards nation or national development and agreed to promote greater youth exchanges between the countries. The leaders reiterated their commitment to work closely in mutually beneficial areas to further strengthen the ASEAN-India comprehensive strategic partnership. They condemned terrorism in all its forms and agreed on the urgent need to address climate change and enhance efforts in mitigating the adverse impacts from this rising challenge. The Brunei Sultan appreciated India's support in hosting the ASEAN Centre for Climate Change. India's Prime Minister welcomed Brunei Darussalam's continued participation in the Voice of the Global South Summit. In fact, the Brunei media prominently has covered the Indian Prime Minister's visit. A photograph of the Crown Prince receiving the Prime Minister at the Brunei International Airport was flashed on the front page of Borneo Bulletin newspaper. It also covered the Prime Minister's visit to the Sultan Omar Ali Saifuddin Mosque and shows him sitting next to the Minister of Religious Affairs and Health Minister of Brunei Darussalam and welcomed by the members of the Indian community at the mosque. In other news, Russia's President Vladimir Putin is back home from Mongolia to attend Russia's Eastern Economic Forum at Vladivostok. The 9th Eastern Economic Forum is set to open on Wednesday. The two-day forum is being organized under the motto of Far East 2020, combining strengths to create new potential. In his greeting to event's participants, Putin said over the previous years, the forum has contributed significantly to the development of constructive economic ties between Russia and other countries of Asia-Pacific region. He said that Russia is open for dialogue with all regional partners on the basis of genuine equality, with no place for dictate, strong-arm tactics or sanctions pressure. In Nigeria's northeastern Yobe state, at least 81 people have died and several are missing after an alleged attack by the Boko Haram. Locals said that the death toll could be higher. The attack took place on Sunday afternoon, local time in Yobe, one of the 3 states at the front line of an insurgency that has lasted 15 years. Thousands of Nigerians have been killed and more than 2 million displaced. A police spokesperson said that the attack was apparently in retaliation for the killing of 2 suspected Boko Haram's fighters by vigilantes. Former US President Donald Trump has said in a court filing on Tuesday that he would plead not guilty to criminal charges in a revised indictment accusing him of attempting to overturn his 2020 election defeat. Trump, the Republican candidate in the presidential election, waived his right to appear in court and instead authorized his lawyers to enter the plea. The revised indictment obtained last week by special counsel Jack Smith includes same 4 charges prosecutors brought against Trump last year. He was accused of attempting to defraud the U.S., obstruct congressional certification of the election and deprive voters of their right to a fair vote. And now let's move on to some news coming in from the world of sports. First up, updates from the Paris Paralympics. The Indian para contingent displayed a phenomenal performance on the day 6 at the Paris Paralympics, taking India to its best ever medal haul of 20 with 4 days still remaining to the Games. Indian para sprinter Deepti Jivanji bagged the 16th medal for India on day 6 as she won bronze medal in the women's 400-meter T20 final. The para-athlete finished the race in 55.82 seconds. Para-athlete Ajit Singh also bagged silver medal with a personal best throw of 65.62 meters in men's javelin throw F46 final on Tuesday night, while Sundar Singh Gurjar bagged a bronze medal with a season best throw of 64.96 in the same category. With this win, India has achieved its first double podium finish in athletics at Paralympics Paris Games. Just a while later on the same day, India achieved its second podium finish in athletics at Paris Paralympics in men's high jump T63 final. Sharad Kumar secured a silver medal with a best jump of 1.88 meters, setting a new Paralympic record in T42 category. Mariyappan Thingavelu bagged a bronze medal with a best jump of 1.85 meters. And that's it. It's a wrap on this edition of DD India Live. You can get all the latest news and updates on DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download it. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You know how to connect with us. You can reach to us on Facebook, on platform X and Instagram. You can check out our website also, ddindia.co.in. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.